In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars shimmered like diamonds scattered across an endless velvet canvas, there existed a realm far beyond human comprehension. The planet Zarathia, a celestial jewel nestled in the Andromeda galaxy, pulsed with an otherworldly energy that defied terrestrial physics. Its crystalline cities floated above iridescent oceans, their structures crafted from living minerals that shifted colors with the planet's three suns. The air itself seemed to hum with ancient wisdom, carrying whispers of countless generations who had walked its luminous surface. Among this advanced civilization lived Princess Lyria, the youngest daughter of Emperor Vorthan and Empress Ceres, rulers of the Zarathian Empire. Unlike her people, whose skin shimmered with opalescent hues and eyes glowed with inner starlight, Lyria possessed a unique characteristic that set her apart: her ability to traverse dimensional barriers. This rare gift manifested when she was merely a child, allowing her to observe distant worlds through ephemeral portals that would appear at random moments. Of all the countless planets she glimpsed, one captured her imagination more than any other: Earth. The blue-green orb fascinated Lyria not because of its technological achievements or political systems, but because of something far more profound: the depth of human emotions. Through her observations, she witnessed acts of courage and sacrifice that transcended logic, love that endured against impossible odds, and communities that came together in times of crisis. These qualities stood in stark contrast to Zarathian society, where efficiency and rationality governed every aspect of life. While her people valued emotional control above all else, humans wore their hearts on their sleeves, expressing joy and sorrow with equal intensity. As Lyria matured, her fascination with Earth evolved into something deeper. She began secretly studying human culture, learning their languages and customs through the dimensional portals. Her favorite subject became their warrior traditions, how soldiers fought not just for territory or resources, but for ideals they believed worth dying for. This concept of fighting for something greater than oneself resonated deeply with her, challenging everything she'd been taught about strength and honor in Zarathian society. Her parents, particularly her mother, grew increasingly concerned about Lyria's preoccupation with Earth. Empress Ceres viewed these human tendencies as primitive and dangerous, warning her daughter about the chaos that unchecked emotions could unleash. Yet despite these warnings, Lyria couldn't shake the feeling that there was something fundamentally beautiful about humanity's raw, unfiltered approach to life. It was during one of her secret observations that she first noticed Captain Marcus Kane, a human warrior whose path would soon become inexplicably intertwined with hers. Marcus Kane stood amidst the ruins of what was once a thriving village, his battle-worn armor reflecting the harsh sunlight that bore down on the devastated landscape. The seasoned warrior had seen countless battles during his 20 years of service, but nothing could have prepared him for the mission that had brought him to this forsaken corner of the world. As leader of the United Nations Special Operations Force, he commanded a unit tasked with investigating mysterious phenomena that defied conventional explanation, events that increasingly pointed to extraterrestrial involvement. His journey had begun 5 years earlier, following the death of his wife during a classified operation gone wrong. Rather than retreating from duty, Marcus threw himself deeper into his work, seeking solace in the structured world of military protocol and strategic operations. His tactical brilliance earned him rapid promotions, but it was his unwavering moral compass that truly set him apart. Time and again, Marcus demonstrated an uncanny ability to make split-second decisions that prioritized civilian lives over mission objectives, even when such choices risked court-martial. The current assignment had started with reports of strange lights descending from the sky near conflict zones, followed by unprecedented ceasefires between warring factions. Local witnesses spoke of ethereal figures appearing in the night, their presence somehow quelling centuries-old hatreds. Marcus's superiors dismissed these accounts as mass hysteria, but he couldn't ignore the pattern emerging across multiple continents. Each site bore identical markings, geometric patterns scorched into the earth, accompanied by readings that made scientific instruments behave erratically. What kept Marcus awake at night wasn't just the mystery itself, but the growing sense that these events were somehow connected to the loss he carried in his heart. During moments of quiet reflection, he found himself wondering if these celestial visitors might hold answers about what happened to Sarah, his late wife. The official report claimed she died in an explosion, but certain details never added up, particularly the eyewitness accounts of a bright light enveloping her position moments before the blast. These thoughts haunted him, driving him to push harder, dig deeper, and follow leads that others deemed too fantastic to pursue. His dedication to uncovering the truth had earned him both respect and skepticism among his peers. Some admired his relentless pursuit of answers, while others whispered about the toll it was taking on his mental state. But Marcus knew what he had seen: fragments of something extraordinary that didn't fit within the confines of known science. Each new piece of evidence brought him closer to understanding not just the nature of these mysterious occurrences, but perhaps also to finding closure for the personal tragedy that continued to shape his life. The convergence of their paths occurred during a particularly violent thunderstorm in the Scottish Highlands, where Marcus had been tracking unusual atmospheric disturbances. As lightning illuminated the ancient stone circle he was investigating, a shimmering portal emerged between the standing stones. Before he could react, Princess Lyria stepped through, her presence momentarily freezing time itself. The air crackled with energy as her opalescent form materialized, her eyes locking onto Marcus with an intensity that made his training and experience feel insignificant. Lyria's arrival wasn't entirely accidental. For months, she had been observing Marcus's investigations, intrigued by his persistence and the genuine compassion he showed toward those affected by the mysterious phenomena. What she hadn't anticipated was the immediate connection she felt upon meeting him, a resonance that transcended species and dimensions. As she studied his weathered face and the determined set of his jaw, she understood why humans placed such value on eye contact. In that moment, she saw reflected in his eyes not just curiosity or fear, but recognition of something profoundly familiar. Marcus reacted with characteristic military precision, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon while maintaining a defensive stance. Yet as Lyria raised her palm in a gesture of peace, speaking in perfect English about her peaceful intentions, he hesitated. Her voice carried an otherworldly quality that sent shivers down his spine, but it was her words that truly disarmed him. "I've watched you," she confessed, her luminous eyes never leaving his. "Your quest for truth mirrors my own search for meaning." The storm raged around them as they stood in the ancient circle, neither willing to break the connection that had formed between them. Lyria explained her ability to traverse dimensions, carefully omitting details about her royal lineage while sharing glimpses of her observations of Earth. Marcus listened intently, his analytical mind processing each word while his heart responded to the authenticity in her voice. When she described witnessing his actions during previous missions, moments he thought no one had observed, his initial suspicion gave way to something more complex. Their conversation stretched into hours, punctuated by flashes of lightning that seemed to respond to the intensity of their exchange. Lyria revealed how human concepts of honor and sacrifice resonated deeply with her, challenging everything she'd been taught about emotional restraint. Marcus, in turn, shared his doubts about the official explanations for various global incidents, admitting that his pursuit of answers had become deeply personal. They discovered common ground in their mutual frustration with bureaucratic constraints, Lyria with her mother's rigid expectations, and Marcus with military protocols that often conflicted with his moral convictions. As dawn approached, painting the sky with hues that matched Lyria's shifting skin tones, they realized they had barely scratched the surface of their shared mysteries. The princess revealed that her visits to Earth weren't just observational. She had been subtly influencing events, attempting to understand human nature through controlled experiments. Marcus processed this revelation with military discipline, though his eyes betrayed a mixture of awe and concern. Their connection deepened with each shared secret, creating a bond that neither fully understood but both recognized as significant. The morning light revealed tracks leading away from the stone circle, physical evidence of their encounter that would challenge everything Marcus thought he knew about reality. Yet more compelling than any scientific proof was the realization that Lyria's presence had awakened something within him that he thought had died with Sarah. Her genuine curiosity about human emotions, combined with her own struggle against societal expectations, created a mirror in which Marcus saw his own journey reflected. As they parted ways with promises to meet again, neither could deny that their meeting had set into motion changes that would affect both their worlds in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. The revelation of Lyria's true identity as a princess of Zarathia shattered the fragile equilibrium they had established. Standing in the crystalline gardens of her family's floating palace, Marcus struggled to process the magnitude of what he had entered. The opulent surroundings, where gravity seemed to dance according to its own rules and plants emitted soft luminescence, only heightened his sense of displacement. Yet it was Empress Ceres's reaction to their relationship that proved most unsettling. "Love is a human weakness," the Empress declared, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of Zarathian tradition. Her glowing eyes fixed on Marcus with an intensity that made his military training seem inadequate. "Our people have evolved beyond such primitive attachments. Your presence here threatens the very foundation of our society. Lyria stood between them, her usual confidence wavering under her mother's disapproval. The tension in the chamber was palpable, charged with emotions that defied cultural norms on both sides. Marcus found himself defending not just his right to be with Lyria, but the very concept of emotional connection itself. "Your Majesty," he began, choosing his words carefully despite the alien setting. "What you call weakness, we call strength. The capacity to care deeply, to fight for something greater than oneself. These are what make us capable of extraordinary things." His military background lent authority to his argument, drawing parallels between battlefield camaraderie and romantic devotion. The cultural divide manifested in countless ways. Where Zarathians valued logical detachment, Marcus embodied passionate commitment. When Lyria attempted to explain human courtship rituals, her mother's expression oscillated between horror and fascination. The concept of risking one's life for another, so fundamental to Marcus's warrior ethos, seemed incomprehensible to the Empress. "We preserve our species through calculated unions," she countered, "not through reckless emotional entanglements." Yet beneath the Empress's stern exterior lay a more complex truth. Her own marriage to Emperor Vorthan had been arranged, a union of political convenience that produced heirs but little warmth. Lyria had inherited her mother's regal bearing but craved the depth of connection she observed in human relationships. This internal conflict played out in subtle ways. The slight tremor in her voice when discussing Earth customs, the way her luminescent skin dimmed when her mother dismissed human emotions as inefficient. The situation reached a breaking point during a formal banquet, where Marcus's presence caused a diplomatic incident. Traditionalist council members openly questioned Lyria's judgment, while progressive voices argued for embracing new ideas. The debate escalated into a full-blown confrontation when Marcus, unable to remain silent, challenged the council's assumptions about human nature. "You speak of evolution," he said, his voice steady despite the hostile stares, "but true progress comes from growth, not stagnation. Your daughter sees value in our ways because they represent something your society has forgotten: the power of genuine connection." Empress Ceres's response was immediate and devastating. She issued an ultimatum that would force Lyria to choose between her royal duties and her growing feelings for Marcus. The decision would require Lyria to confront not just her mother's expectations, but the very foundations of Zarathian society. As Marcus watched the turmoil play out across Lyria's features, he realized that their struggle extended far beyond a simple romance. It represented a clash of civilizations, each holding truths the other desperately needed to understand. The mounting pressure from both worlds pushed Lyria and Marcus to seek refuge in the ancient archives of Zarathia, where holographic records of interdimensional encounters spanned millennia. Here, surrounded by floating chronicles of cosmic diplomacy, they discovered a shocking revelation. Earth and Zarathia had been connected long before either civilization developed written language. Ancient texts described a shared origin story, suggesting that human emotions might actually stem from genetic memories of Zarathian ancestors who had chosen to embrace rather than suppress their feelings. This discovery transformed their private struggle into a potential bridge between worlds. Lyria realized that her attraction to human culture wasn't mere curiosity. It was a rediscovery of her people's lost heritage. Marcus, in turn, began to see his military experiences through a cosmic lens, understanding that the warrior spirit he cherished might have extraterrestrial roots. Together, they pieced together evidence of periodic crossovers throughout history, explaining many of Earth's unexplained phenomena as attempts by Zarathian explorers to reconnect with their emotional past. However, their investigation attracted unwanted attention. A faction within the Zarathian government, led by High Counselor Tarnus, viewed their findings as a threat to social order. These traditionalists believed that acknowledging any connection to humanity's emotional nature would unravel centuries of carefully maintained societal control. They began manipulating public opinion against Lyria, portraying her relationship with Marcus as a betrayal of Zarathian values. The situation on Earth proved equally volatile. Marcus's superiors, having learned of his continued contact with Lyria, demanded he terminate the relationship immediately. Classified documents revealed that Earth's governments had long been aware of Zarathian existence, maintaining a policy of strategic ignorance to prevent mass panic. Now, faced with concrete evidence of interdimensional connections, military leaders feared losing control of information that could destabilize global power structures. Caught between these opposing forces, Lyria and Marcus found themselves forced to operate in increasingly dangerous circumstances. They established secret meeting points in dimensional borderlands, places where reality bent enough to allow brief, protected encounters. During these stolen moments, they worked to decode more of the ancient records, hoping to find a solution that could satisfy both worlds. Lyria's unique abilities proved crucial, allowing her to access encrypted data that had remained hidden for centuries. Their efforts uncovered something even more profound, evidence that the suppression of emotions on Zarathia had led to a gradual decline in their species' adaptability. The record showed that periods of greatest innovation coincided with increased emotional expression, while eras of strict control correlated with stagnation. This revelation threatened to upend Zarathian society, making their relationship not just a personal matter but a catalyst for potential revolution. As they delved deeper, they encountered resistance from unexpected quarters. Some human scientists, fearing the implications of shared ancestry with an advanced alien race, worked to discredit their findings. Others sought to exploit the information for military advantage, seeing in Zarathian technology the key to Earth's dominance in space exploration. Meanwhile, moderate voices on both sides began to emerge, quietly supporting their cause while navigating the treacherous political landscape. The complexity of their situation intensified when they discovered that the dimensional barriers between their worlds were weakening. Natural disasters on Earth and environmental shifts on Zarathia suggested that the two planets were experiencing a cosmic realignment. This phenomenon, predicted in ancient prophecies but dismissed as myth, now appeared to be accelerating. Lyria and Marcus realized that their relationship might be more than coincidence. It could be part of a larger cosmic design meant to reunite two branches of the same species. Their growing understanding of this connection forced them to reconsider everything they knew about destiny and free will. Lyria's mother, watching from the shadows of the imperial palace, began to show signs of doubt about her long-held beliefs. Marcus's military commanders, faced with undeniable evidence of interdimensional influence, struggled to maintain their stance of denial. The couple found themselves at the center of a maelstrom that threatened to reshape both societies, their personal bond becoming the fulcrum upon which hung the fate of two worlds. As the dimensional barriers continued to weaken, Lyria and Marcus faced an escalating series of crises that tested their resolve and their relationship. On Earth, natural disasters triggered by the cosmic realignment began occurring with alarming frequency, while on Zarathia, the planet's crystalline infrastructure started showing signs of instability. The couple worked tirelessly to coordinate emergency responses across dimensions, their efforts complicated by increasing interference from both worlds' authorities. High Counselor Tarnus launched a campaign to paint Lyria's relationship with Marcus as the cause of these disturbances, rallying traditionalist factions to demand immediate separation. Simultaneously, Earth's military establishment pressured Marcus to use his connection with Lyria to gather intelligence on Zarathian technology, threatening to expose their entire operation if he refused. Caught between these demands, Marcus found himself questioning whether his presence was helping or harming Lyria's position. The strain manifested in their interactions, with moments of doubt creeping into their previously unshakable bond. Lyria began experiencing episodes where her dimensional abilities fluctuated uncontrollably, sometimes trapping her between worlds for hours at a time. Marcus, unable to physically follow her into these liminal spaces, could only watch helplessly as she battled the effects of the deteriorating barriers. Their stolen meetings grew shorter and more fraught with tension, each encounter bringing new revelations about the extent of the danger facing both planets. During one particularly harrowing incident, Lyria nearly became permanently trapped in a collapsing dimensional pocket. Marcus's desperate attempts to reach her revealed an unexpected development. His prolonged exposure to Zarathian energy had begun awakening latent abilities within him. Though nowhere near as developed as Lyria's, these emerging powers allowed him to briefly stabilize the barrier long enough for her to escape. The experience left them both shaken but hopeful, suggesting that their union might hold the key to stabilizing the dimensional rifts. Their hope was tempered by the growing realization that solving one problem often created new challenges. Each successful intervention drew more attention to their activities, forcing them to develop increasingly sophisticated methods of concealment. They established a network of allies spanning both worlds, rogue Zarathian scientists, sympathetic human researchers, and even some members of Lyria's royal court who had begun questioning the traditionalist doctrine. The couple's evolving dynamic reflected the broader changes occurring around them. Where once they had approached problems from distinctly different perspectives, they now found themselves developing a hybrid methodology that combined Zarathian logic with human intuition. This fusion of approaches proved remarkably effective in addressing the multifaceted crisis, but it also highlighted the vast cultural chasm they still needed to bridge. Simple gestures of affection that Marcus took for granted required careful consideration of Zarathian customs, while Lyria's attempts to express emotion sometimes clashed with human expectations. Their greatest challenge came when they discovered that the dimensional instability was affecting not just their respective planets, but the entire local cluster of star systems. The phenomenon was creating ripple effects that threatened to cascade into a galactic catastrophe. Faced with this expanded scope of responsibility, Lyria and Marcus had to decide whether to focus their efforts on protecting their immediate worlds or attempt a more comprehensive solution that might leave both vulnerable in the short term. The decision forced them to confront uncomfortable truths about leadership and sacrifice. Lyria struggled with the knowledge that pursuing the broader solution might require betraying her royal duties, while Marcus grappled with the possibility that saving countless lives might mean endangering those closest to him. Their debates grew more intense, each trying to convince the other of the morally correct path forward. These discussions often ended in silence, both recognizing that there might be no perfect answer to the dilemma they faced. Despite these mounting pressures, their connection continued to deepen. Shared adversity forged a bond that transcended their individual identities, creating something new and unprecedented. They began to understand that their relationship wasn't just about bridging two worlds. It was about forging a new path that neither could walk alone. This realization brought both comfort and anxiety, as they recognized that whatever choices they made would have consequences far beyond their personal happiness. As they prepared to present their findings to representatives from both worlds, Lyria and Marcus found themselves at a crossroads. The evidence they had gathered painted a clear picture of interconnected destinies, but the solutions they proposed would require sacrifices that neither society was ready to make. Their presentation would need to be more than just a sharing of information. It would have to be a masterclass in diplomacy, appealing to both Zarathian logic and human emotion. Yet even as they finalized their plans, new developments threatened to derail everything they had worked toward, forcing them to question whether their love was strong enough to withstand the coming storm. As Lyria and Marcus prepared for their pivotal presentation, an unexpected ally emerged from the shadows of Zarathian politics, Empress Ceres herself. The once stoic ruler had been quietly observing their efforts, her rigid beliefs slowly eroding under the weight of undeniable evidence. In a private meeting with Lyria, she confessed that she had always feared emotional vulnerability because it reminded her of the pain she endured when Vorthan's arranged marriage left her loveless and isolated. But witnessing her daughter's unwavering devotion to Marcus, and the profound impact their bond was having on both worlds, forced her to confront the emptiness of her own life. Empress Ceres agreed to lend her support, but only if Lyria and Marcus could prove that their union would stabilize the dimensional rifts threatening the galaxy. This condition set into motion a daring plan. They would attempt to merge their energies during the next cosmic alignment, using their combined abilities to anchor the collapsing barriers between dimensions. It was a risky proposition. Failure could result in catastrophic consequences for both Earth and Zarathia. Yet, as Lyria and Marcus stood side by side in the crystalline chamber where they first revealed their findings, they knew there was no other choice. The day of the alignment arrived, and representatives from both worlds gathered in a neutral space, a floating platform suspended between Earth's atmosphere and Zarathia's shimmering skies. The air buzzed with tension as Lyria and Marcus addressed the assembly, their voices steady despite the gravity of the moment. They spoke not just of science or diplomacy, but of hope, the hope that two vastly different civilizations could find common ground through understanding and compassion. When Lyria recounted how human emotions had reawakened something long dormant within her people, even the most skeptical council members found themselves moved. High Counselor Tarnus, however, refused to relent. He accused them of manipulating data and rallied his followers to disrupt the ceremony. As chaos erupted, Marcus instinctively stepped forward to shield Lyria, his latent powers flaring up in response to the threat. For the first time, he fully embraced the abilities awakened within him, creating a protective barrier that stunned everyone present, including himself. The display silenced Tarnus's faction, proving beyond doubt that humans and Zarathians were more alike than anyone had dared to admit. With the crowd now united in awe, Lyria and Marcus turned their focus to the task at hand. Holding hands, they channeled their combined energy toward the heart of the dimensional rift. The process was excruciating, as though every fiber of their beings was being stretched across infinite planes. Memories flooded their minds, Lyria's childhood longing for connection, Marcus's grief over Sarah's death, their shared moments of joy and struggle. Each memory reinforced their resolve, weaving their essences together like threads in an unbreakable tapestry. As the alignment peaked, a brilliant light engulfed the platform, radiating outward until it touched every corner of both worlds. The dimensional barriers stabilized, and the cosmic tremors ceased. Cheers erupted from the assembled crowd, but Lyria and Marcus remained locked in their trance-like state, their forms glowing with an ethereal brilliance. When the light finally faded, they collapsed into each other's arms, exhausted yet triumphant. In the aftermath, the implications of their success rippled through both societies. On Zarathia, the rigid caste system began to soften as citizens embraced the idea that emotions could coexist with logic. Empress Ceres announced reforms aimed at fostering greater personal freedom, while High Counselor Tarnus quietly stepped down, acknowledging the futility of resisting change. On Earth, governments worked to integrate Zarathian technology responsibly, ensuring that humanity's newfound connection to the stars wouldn't come at the cost of its soul. For Lyria and Marcus, the victory came with a bittersweet realization. Their roles as bridge builders meant they would forever walk between worlds, never fully belonging to either. Yet, this liminal existence felt strangely fitting, a reflection of the unique bond they had forged. Together, they established an interdimensional council dedicated to maintaining peace and cooperation between their peoples. Their love story became legend, a testament to the power of unity in the face of division. One evening, as they stood beneath Zarathia's triple moons, Lyria rested her head on Marcus's shoulder. "Do you think we've done enough?" she asked softly. Marcus smiled, tracing the glowing patterns on her skin with his fingertips. "We've given them a start. The rest is up to them." And so, their journey continued, not as mere lovers or warriors, but as pioneers of a new era. Though challenges lay ahead, they faced them with unwavering determination, knowing that their bond was stronger than any barrier, whether physical or cultural. In bridging two worlds, they had discovered a truth far greater than either could have imagined alone. That love, in all its forms, has the power to reshape the universe itself.